You didn't become weak by accident. You were slowly trained to doubt your own strength. Take a slow breath with me for a moment, because I know something about you that you rarely say out loud. You've felt the quiet confusion of being drained without understanding why. You've questioned yourself late at night, wondering how you went from confident to cautious, from expressive to silent, from trusting to constantly second, guessing your own thoughts. And the most painful part is not that someone hurt you. It's that part of you wonders if it was somehow your fault. That thought sits heavy in your chest, unspoken, persistent, exhausting. And it's exactly where manipulation begins. I'm not here to accuse you of being weak. I'm here because you were targeted for being human, for caring deeply, for wanting connection, safety, and understanding. The people who know dark psychology don't hunt strength directly. They don't confront power head-on. They work quietly, patiently, shaping the inner world of another person until that person forgets what strength even feels like. And by the time you notice something is wrong, you're already apologizing for things you didn't do, explaining feelings you're allowed to have, and shrinking parts of yourself just to keep the peace. If this feels familiar, it's because it's not random. It follows patterns of human behavior that repeat across toxic relationships, workplaces, families, and even friendships. Enemies don't always look like villains. Sometimes they look like people who once felt safe. Sometimes they look like mentors, partners, or voices you trusted. And they don't control you by force. They control you by slowly disconnecting you from your own emotional compass. One of the first hidden tricks they use is emotional confusion. They create situations where your reactions are always questioned, but their behavior is never examined. You express hurt, and somehow the conversation turns into your tone, your timing, your sensitivity. Over time, your nervous system learns a dangerous lesson. Speaking up leads to punishment. Silence leads to temporary peace. This is not weakness. This is conditioning. The human brain is wired to avoid pain, and emotional withdrawal becomes a survival response. You stop bringing things up not because they don't matter, but because your body remembers the cost. This is where gaslighting quietly enters the picture, not always dramatic, not always obvious. Sometimes it's subtle contradictions. Small denials, rewritten memories, gentle laughs when you're serious. You begin to doubt your perception of reality. You replay conversations in your head, wondering if you misunderstood, if you imagined it, if you're overreacting. That self-doubt is not accidental. It's a form of emotional control that shifts authority from your inner voice to theirs. And once that happens, you no longer need to be controlled from the outside. You start controlling yourself. The second hidden trick is guilt disguised as love. Manipulators understand attachment deeply. They know that humans bond through vulnerability, shared pain, and emotional investment. Trauma bonding doesn't feel like abuse when you're inside it. It feels intense, meaningful, irreplaceable. The highs feel earned because the lows hurt so much, and slowly your sense of responsibility expands. You feel responsible for their moods, their reactions, their silence. You tell yourself that if you were better, calmer, more understanding, things would be different. This is where self-blame becomes a cage. Guilt is one of the most powerful tools in dark psychology because it keeps you emotionally available while mentally trapped. You stay, You tolerate, you adapt, not because you're weak, but because your empathy has been turned against you. And every time you ignore your own discomfort to preserve the connection, your self-worth takes another quiet hit. Not dramatic, just enough to be felt later, when you look in the mirror and don't recognize the confidence you once had. The third hidden trick is making you forget who you were before them. This doesn't happen overnight. It happens through small compromises. You stop doing things that light you up because they cause tension. You soften opinions, you filter your words, you abandon boundaries to avoid conflict, and slowly your inner world becomes smaller, safer, but also emptier. Emotional abuse doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers until your inner voice is barely audible. Here's the part most people never explain. Enemies don't need to destroy you. They just need you to stay confused long enough to never fully stand up for yourself. Silence becomes mistaken for maturity. Endurance becomes mistaken for strength. And your pain becomes invisible because you learned to carry it quietly. This is how mind games work, not through dominance, but through erosion. But something inside you has been waking up. You wouldn't be here otherwise. There's a part of you that's tired of feeling small, tired of apologizing for existing, tired of feeling like love always comes with conditions. That part of you is not angry, it's clear, and clarity is the beginning of freedom. Recognizing red flags doesn't mean becoming cold or suspicious of everyone. It means listening to your body when it tightens, when it feels dismissed, when something feels off, even if you can't explain it perfectly. Emotional control thrives when intuition is ignored. Healing begins when intuition is respected again. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to step back. You're allowed to say no without explaining your entire history. Rebuilding boundaries will feel uncomfortable at first, because your nervous system learned that boundaries lead to loss. But healthy people don't punish you for protecting yourself. Only those benefiting from your silence do. And this is where self-worth slowly returns, not as confidence, but as permission. Permission to feel. Permission to leave conversations that drain you. Permission to stop proving your value to people committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need to confront every manipulator. You don't need dramatic exits or perfect speeches. Sometimes the most powerful move is emotional withdrawal. Not coldness, not cruelty, just choosing not to offer your inner world to those who mishandle it. That quiet reclaiming of your energy changes everything. And here's the truth I want you to sit with for a moment. The fact that you were affected does not mean you are broken. It means you are human in a world where not everyone plays fair. Your empathy is not a flaw. Your depth is not a weakness. It simply needs protection. As you move forward, let awareness replace self-blame. Let boundaries replace guilt. Let calm replace chaos. You are not here to be controlled, conditioned, or diminished. You are here to experience connection without losing yourself. And the moment you stop fighting your instincts is the moment your strength quietly returns. You don't have to become harder. You just have to become more honest with yourself. And in that honesty, something powerful happens. The mind games stop working. The manipulation loses its grip. And you begin to feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Peace, not because you endured everything, but because you finally chose yourself.